Hi everybody, welcome back. Democracy 3. We're back in Canada. Well, it's like fake Canada, but we're back anyway. We've been tackling all the heavy issues like the rail strike and alcohol abuse, overconsumption of alcohol. We've got a couple of others that we need to start looking at, but those were the ones that we were taking a look at. Violent crime and crime, hopefully we can get rid of off the back of getting rid of alcohol abuse. And then we can start tackling vigilante mobs and organized crime and all this other stuff too. Pollution. I don't think we're a competitive economy at the moment. Uncompetitive economy. Look at that. So bad. We'll have to tackle that one fairly soon too. Start making some big ones. Trade unionists are really pissed with us, and that'll be off the back of the labor laws. Looks like we're on the up with the Conservatives, and state employees are just so ecstatic with the changes that we've made. Labor laws, we're going to have to sort of level out once the rail strike is gone again. Get back in with the trade unionists and keep everything balanced. We still have 16 man points to spend this term, so we can maybe look into doing that, or we can start looking at maybe possibly getting rid of vigilante mobs. Is there anything else that we can enact here, or we can change? Our police force is at maximum. We've completely and utterly maxed out on CCTV cameras. What's this? We've got handgun laws, which is really boosting patriotism in our country, but the Liberals and parents in general are pretty pissed about the handgun laws, and it's a contributor to violent crime as well. Now, one thing we haven't done much of is actually look at new policies, and there's probably some decent policies in law and order that we can think of implementing, such as prisoner tagging. Come on, prisoner tagging. Do you know what I'm saying? Like those things, the bracelets that they give prisoners so that like they can't like leave the state or leave their town or whatever without the police like getting an alert and then sending in a helicopter to swoop down and pick them up with a rope and stuff. It's crazy, but fairly effective as well. Prisoner tagging, a high-tech alternative to incarceration that allows people to reintegrate with the community upon release from prison, whilst allowing law enforcement authorities to keep close eye on them. Liberals have concerns that such a system is a step towards a police state which monitors our every move. It's probably not that bad. I mean, because, you know, we're not strapping these things on everybody. It's just on prisoners that have been released from jail so that we can keep an eye on them and make sure that they're not up to no good, causing trouble in the neighborhood and stuff like that. So let's do it. Is it going to cost us quite a bit to implement? It is going to cost us nothing? What? Is it not say how much it costs? A bit of an unpopular one with voters, but not massively. Let's try it. We're going to implement it and see. Prisoner tagging. Oh, look at that. I only have 2 left. It did cost me 11 points. I just didn't notice it somewhere. I'm sure it said somewhere. I just didn't notice it because I'm fairly dumb sometimes when it comes to noticing things. So there we go. Prisoner tagging. It's a little bit unpopular with voters. William Kahn has gained some effectiveness at his job. Congrats, William. You did it, Bill. Old Bill Kahn, the man himself with his awesome business suit on. Look at that. He's chosen a green suit today with like a sort of like a sky blue tie and then a darker blue shirt underneath. It's pretty trendy, actually. We've just implemented this or are thinking about implementing it. It's not going to take us very long to implement it. And of course, anytime you choose a new policy to implement, the raise, lower, and cancel charges on the man fists are free. So we can go in all guns blazing with this one if we want. The Liberals are going to be very pissed about this. Crime and violent crime are going to go down though. It's going to only cost us 29.63 million per quarter. That's not that much. It's just a couple of like little armbands with microchips in them. So like probably doesn't cost that much. We could probably raise this a little bit. The Liberals, like I said, are going to be increasingly pissed the higher that we raise this and spend more money on this. But crime and violent crime will go down, and it's something that we can come in and adjust later once we've gotten crime and violent crime under control. I think it's probably worth doing. The knock-on effects in the long term are probably horrendous, but like any decision, there's always going to be some consequences that you need to be aware of or unaware of in this case, and we're just going to have to bite the bullet, go for it, and see what happens. Bill Kahn, His facial expression hasn't changed much since I changed the slider. It would be a nice thing maybe to put into the game to have him like frown the more he disagrees with my sliding of the slider, but it's not in the game, so we can just pretend that he's just pretty happy in general with this decision. Great. Apply changes? Yes. So, there we go. Prisoner tagging. There it is. Look, right at the forefront of law and order. It's not implemented yet, so it's not currently affecting violent crime or crime in any meaningful way. But we're going to have to go to our next turn, because I only have 2 man fists left, and there's not really much I can do with that. So, here we go. Look at that. We've appointed all of our friends to top jobs. It's a very cynical view on government. Probably a fairly realistic one as well, but who knows? We'll have to see. Great. My God, look at that! What a masterstroke! We've done it! Look at that! We got rid of vigilante mobs and the rail strike in one go. Really good. 2 issues completely gone. We have an economic policy question involving euthanasia, which is a pretty controversial one. GDP unchanged. Health is unchanged. We're going to have to enact some sort of policies around health and prop that up a bit. Education is still positive and unchanged. Unemployment looks to be unchanged as well. Crime is going down, which is what we want. And poverty eventually will work on getting down as well. Let's check out this euthanasia policy and see. It's contrary to popular belief. It has nothing to do with young people who live in Asia. See what I did that? Youth in Asia? No. It's about people wanting to kill themselves because they have like a disease that is causing them like an insurmountable amount of pain and suffering, and they just figure it's time to go, just pull the plug on me or whatever. But the state steps in and says, no, you can't do that. Because we've got all this healthcare and everything, we're going to try to keep you alive, keep you going, keep you pain-free and stuff like that. And it's very controversial. There's a whole bunch of controversy around this, like, all the time. It's a really touchy subject, and it really comes down to, like, how a family feels about it or how the individual feels about it. And it's a really hard thing, I think, to make a policy on. It's not a sort of black and white or like a right and wrong sort of thing. I think it's one of those things that's just like absolutely on a case-by-case basis, and of course there's probably just a billion cases and it would take forever to get through all of them, so it's very difficult in general. A once famous citizen, age 66, is suffering from a terminal disease and living in constant severe pain. Although modern medical techniques can keep him alive for many more years, he has expressed a repeated desire to be allowed to take his own life. So we can grant him that. We can legalize euthanasia. It's incredibly cruel to keep people living in a permanent pain where there is no hope of recovery, and they have already expressed a will not to carry on with their life. As modern medical technology advances, this is going to be more common, as we are able to keep people alive in pain or in a coma for many years. We can also, of course, leave the law unchanged. Everyone has sympathy for those involved in these situations, but changing the law is the wrong decision. This would be the thin end of the wedge. Once the principle of helping people to die is in law, the pressure will be on anyone with a terminal condition, especially where medical care is expensive. Don't change the law. A really tough decision. I'm inclined to say, let's legalize it. Well, we're going to do it. We're going to legalize euthanasia. Probably controversially, but leaving law unchanged is probably a little bit controversial as well. I don't think there's any clear way to win on this one in terms of this game. But let's say that people have a right to decide whether they want to live or die, and legalize euthanasia. Oh God, it's done. It's too late. I clicked the button. There's no going back now. Jesus. Okay. It looks like the global economy is doing okay. Great. The government is currently running a budget deficit of 26.20 billion. Polls report that we've gone up. We've gained another % over the past 3 months, which is pretty good. Human Rights Society still hates us, and it looks like our cabinet is still loyal and their effectiveness is still adequate. Great. And, of course, crucially, we got rid of the rail strike, which was fantastic. Also, there are no more vigilante mobs just gallivanting around the country and bringing some sort of like DIY justice to the crims, to the perps, all over the place. How we doing with our alcohol abuse? We've almost done it. Look at that. Next turn, alcohol abuse will no longer be a problem in our country. Very good. And what about organized crime? That's something we can probably start looking into. We can make Canada crime-free, or, well, relatively crime-free. So, it looks like legalizing some narcotics, intelligence services, armed police, and the fact that we've legalized prostitution. We didn't actually legalize prostitution. We inherited the country in a state of legalized prostitution, which I guess is pretty good, actually. I mean, it's a fairly controversial one in itself as well. So not having to make any decision whatsoever on it is probably a good thing. These things are all helping to drive down organized crime. Of course, organized crime tends to operate in the areas of narcotics, sort of like people trafficking, prostitution, gambling. As we can see here, gambling is propping up organized crime in this case. And organized crime, of course, is also contributing to overall violent crime and crime in the country as well, in Canada currently. So, if we take a look at gambling, which is positively influencing organized crime now, we might be able to take a chunk out of organized crime. We've also got intelligence services and armed police, and possibly narcotics and legalized prostitution that we can maybe spend some more money in and help take a couple more chunks out of organized crime as well. Let's start with gambling. Take a look at gambling and see what it's doing. Of course, gambling is a sin which leads to poverty and disaster. I'm sure we've touched on gambling before in the series. I probably talked about it a couple of episodes ago. We have 27 man points to play around with. If we want to raise or lower, it's going to cost us 19 or 14 man points respectively. Organized crime is currently benefiting greatly from the fact that gambling is on a no stakes limit. Now, if we drop this down a little bit to limited stakes and an age limit, so an age limit for gambling, I'm not too sure on the gambling laws in Canada. I have personally, for fun, gambled in the province of Quebec before. Being from Ontario, it's very popular to take advantage of slightly more relaxed laws around stuff in general in the province of Quebec, especially living across the river from the border of the province of Quebec. So I would often go to the province of Quebec to do some gambling, and I believe that the legal age to do so there was 18, much the same as the alcohol law. And I'm not even sure if you could gamble in Ontario even. I don't even know if at the time it was legal. It might be now. I might be lying to you. It's been a long time and I haven't even checked up on it or anything. However, I do know that in the province of Quebec it was legal to have, casinos were around and open and stuff like that. I'm lying. I am actually lying. There was a casino in Niagara Falls, which is in Ontario. I don't know if that's like a recent thing or whatever, but it's a fairly big one. So there we go. So gambling, we say that we want to have an age limit and limited stakes on gambling, which cuts organized crime's benefit from gambling in more than half, which is very good, actually. That's exactly what we want. The Liberals aren't too keen on this. We get in the good books of the religious people in Canada, which is good as well. The GDP drops ever so slightly. It's not too bad. I think we lose like 1%. And unemployment comes back a little bit, which is good, bad. I think that's a bad thing, actually. Unemployment is something that we want to negatively influence, I think. We'll have to look at it after. But that's probably not too bad, actually. So we're going to lower that. It's going to cost us 14 man points. We're going to take a chunk out of organized crime and see how it goes. William Kahn is just becoming more and more effective because we're doing a lot of stuff around law and order, and he's getting to implement all of this stuff. It's going to take us 3 turns for these changes to our gambling policy to take effect, but it'll be good. I think it'll be pretty good, so let's go for it. Yeah, bam! William Kahn, everybody. The man himself, he's doing it. Alcohol abuse, I think we're on top of. We can probably start looking at this asthma epidemic, but it has to do with cars. The fact that people are driving cars like a crazy amount of cars in Canada is contributing to this. And of course, the environment is trying to tackle the asthma epidemic. It's like an epic battle between Mother Earth and this disease, this like illness, the asthma illness or disease. It's you can imagine two gods like fighting in space on like platforms, like Earth platforms, and there's lots of slams and big pile drivers and stuff like that. And at the moment, I think actually the asthma epidemic is winning because it's such a big issue. And of course, parents don't like asthma. Look at that. See that line? Look at that. The fact that there's an asthma epidemic is really, really upsetting parents in a major way. So we're going to have to probably take a look at that fairly soon. It looks like productivity takes a hit from asthma as well. Of course, if you're driving like a heavy goods vehicle or whatever and you can't breathe, that's not the best situation to be in, resulting from asthma. So we'll come back to that one, I think. I think that's a bit of a tough one and not something that we'll be able to do anything with straight away. We, of course, have a uncompetitive economy, which isn't the best. Productivity is like a huge factor that's bringing that down. And productivity is helping get rid of that. But corporation tax is feeding into the fact that we have an uncompetitive economy. So let's take a quick look at corporation tax, a direct and proportionate tax on the profits of business. Wow. Some argue that this should be the only form of taxation. Of course, that being the only form of taxation would mean that there'd be no income tax. So you as a working person would not have to pay any tax. And it would be down to all these big businesses that make millions and billions every year to pay all tax. Probably not really fair on them, and probably not much of an incentive for new businesses to start up and stuff like that. If you didn't have to pay income tax, working a job would probably be a lot more appealing than maybe it currently is. I don't know. Others that such tax stifle entrepreneurship and discourage people from starting a business, as I just said. It is often one of the main ways the government brings in money. So we are currently making, a whopping $10.42 billion a quarter off corporation tax, which is nuts, actually. And if we lower that, now we're going to be in debt even more. Our deficit is going to increase. Uncompetitive economy should come down a little bit, though. So, like, say we cut this in half, bring it down to what, like 10%? Look at that. Uncompetitive economy takes a fairly big hit. The capitalists aren't too unhappy about that. Actually, they think, hey, 10% is much better than 20%, so they're fairly happy. The wealthy, of course, also fairly thrilled about this. Look at that. We get like a big boost against capitalists and wealthy, and of course, the self-employed people who run their own businesses or just work for themselves won't have to pay as much corporation tax, so that's great. The GDP is unaffected, more or less. High earnings, also very good. We cut that in half, the shortfall that we have in high earnings. Socialism, not much of a change. Self-employed income, it gets a boost, which is very good. And of course, we start chipping into this uncompetitive economy issue that we currently have. We have 13 man points. It's going to cost us 10 to lower. Let's do it. Wayne Gretzky's brother, who's 53% effective now. Come on. There you go, Tristan. He's done it. We have 3 man points left. We will end this turn, and we can probably say goodbye as well, because it's been an episode. It truly has been an episode. Let's see the results of some of this stuff. Let's see if we can get rid of alcohol abuse at the very least in our next turn. Here we go. We're patronizing the electorate now, apparently. What a nice thing to do to the electorate. There we go. Alcohol abuse. The situation is now at an end. We've also had an oil pipeline attacked. God damn, look at that. What an explosion. We've just heard that there's been an attack on an oil pipeline in a neighboring country, apparently by a rebel faction, and that oil supplies to our country may be under threat. Look at that. Our oil supply has gone down. and patriotism overall in our country has gone down. That's not the best. We have a budget deficit of 25.16 billion. That's gone down a bit somehow. I'm not even sure how that's happened. People are indifferent to your government. 61%, we lost a percent. That could be due to the fact that we're now tagging prisoners with electronics. Human Rights Society still hate me. Also, the cabinet is loyal and they're considered to be fair. That's good. That's an improvement over adequate, very least. So great. There we go. Organized crime's still a problem. We'll tackle that next time. Or continue to tackle it anyway. And we will try to get rid of this uncompetitive economy issue as well. Look, patriotism has taken a real dump after that oil pipeline attack. Pretty crazy. Great. Our popularity, look at that. You can see it's represented almost perfectly, the fact that we have 61% of the vote currently. We're almost halfway through the term. Things will probably start speeding up now, though, as we start taking out some of these issues and stuff like that, putting in some new policies, trying to reduce the deficit somewhat, see how we go. So, I hope you're enjoying this. I hope it's not too boring. It's quite a fun game, actually. It's fun to balance it all out and stuff like that. Well, I find it fun anyway. If there's only 5 of you still watching this, I hope you're enjoying it as well. And if more of you are watching it, well, that's just great, and I hope that you're all enjoying it too. Canada is shaping up quite nicely, actually. It's looking like we may get re-elected in our next term. So that's what we continue to do. As usual, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.